So my name is Jean-Guy de Gabriac. I'm the founder of Tip Touch International, a consulting whose mission, after hearing what you said, Pat, yesterday, whose mission is really to elevate wellness worldwide, and this is something we've been doing for the past 15 years, creating signature experiences for guests and creating also a culture of wellness for the associates, because through them, that's true transformational experience. Also, one of the reasons why I was asked to chair this initiative supporting the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals is because in 2017, through the many conversations that I heard in the summit, I wanted to launch something in France and Belgium, and it's the World Wellness Weekend. 150 properties participated, opening their doors on the same weekend, just before the September equinox. That was news. The news picked up. And from 2 countries in 2017, we grew in 88 countries in 2018. And this year, 2019, 98 countries participated with one weekend with 2,356 venues opening their doors, organizing free and fun wellness events for all, for guests, for members, but especially for communities, giving back and fueling the creativity of their teams. That caught the attention of over 400 publications, reaching out a public of 220 million people. So with that, yes, in only 3 years, but it's not just about me doing it, it's about the ambassadors that join. It's about the 6 governors in the United States, about the 15 mayors who participated, and the United Nations Global Sustainability Index Institute, and the conversations we had at Davos. But it's especially about you, and this is why I wanted to start with you raising your hands, because you now, and I hope after this panel and everything you've heard, will want to take all those conversations to the next level and be a part of it, become agents of change, positive change, and transformation. So, without further ado, I would like to present our panelists today, and we're very lucky to have them, knowing how busy you are, so thank you for joining us. Jin Sung, you're the head of Philanthropy Center Asia for JP Morgan, private bank in Hong Kong. You work with clients to enhance philanthropic impact nationally, regionally, and globally by offering strategic and innovative advice, thought leadership, and learning opportunities. You are recognized for your ability to identify social gaps, customize collaborative alliances with multilaterals and cross-sector organizations, and to connect like-minded peer groups. You also serve on the board of Baishan Asia, if I say that correctly, Institute. So thank you for being here. Patricia, before I come to you, ladies first, Rupert. Patricia, you're the founder and director of the Purpose Business in Hong Kong, a network of sustainability experts that help Asian businesses to be a force for good. With 20 years of sustainability leadership with Shangri-La Hotels and Yala Lands. Pat, you're dedicated to create responsible growth. You're a World Economic Forum Young Leader. You're a fellow of the Asia Society at the Royal Society of Arts also, and you serve on the board of Enrich and Ignite Impact. So thank you so much for being here. Rupert, co-chairman of Biologique Recherche, based in France. Following top-level positions at several media and communication companies, you worked as head of communications and marketing at Veolia, an energy company. Since 2007, with Pierre-Louis de la Palme, you are the co-chairman and co-owner of Biologique Recherche, a result-driven and professional skincare brand with 40 years of existence, with a very selective network of partners in 82 countries. I was happy to top you with 98 with World Wellness Weekend. And recurrent double-digit growth that I'm also trying to achieve. So you're a member of the UN Global Compact, and that's also one of the reasons why you were the first member to join this initiative of the Global Wellness Institute. Davide. Davide, you're the chairman of Davines Group, an Italy-based company which, through its brands Davines and Comfort Zone, want to inspire and improve the quality of the professional life of worldwide beauty creators. Your vision of sustainable beauty, a combination of state-of-the-art plant chemistry and respect for the environment and society, has led your group to become a B corporation in 2016. Congratulations for that. And we have also Rupert Geneid, a co-founder and director with Jerry Boddicker of Ayus Wellness. Backed with scientific research, Ayus Wellness provides immersive experiences in the wilderness of Mulu Marriott Resort in Malaysian Borneo. In May 2020, you will launch the second operation at Mount Arjuna in Java, and here in mid-21, you have also a third property slated with a site confirmed in Itsu, Japan, with iconic views of the Mount Fiji. And Gareth Presch, unfortunately, who was not able to join us, he's held back in the UK, is also a co-chair of this initiative. He is the CEO of the World Health Organization Summit, founded in 2015 to empower people and communities to improve their health and well-being. Gareth is an expert of the SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, for the UN Global Sustainability Index Institute. His role is to support the SDG 25+5 cities that are being chosen around the world to develop the agenda of 2030. He's also a fellow at St. George's House, Windsor Castle. Quite an impressive panel. That was a mouthful. Jean, let's start with you. With so many equalities in the world, how do you channel philanthropy to change the lives of millions of people?
Okay. Let me just start. How many of you here has heard about SDGs? Okay, wonderful. How many of you have actually decided on one or two SDGs that you're passionate about?
Could we have the SDGs on the slide, maybe?
Great. Okay.
To make them visible?
I think it's 3D. To me, it always is a bit of a puzzle, and I'm not watching time. 3 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. When we look at Asia and the growth of Asia, 5 companies shape us. We've got Alibaba, we've got Samsung, we've got Sony, we've got HDFC Bank, and we also have Toyota. Make millions, billions of dollars. But at the same time, we have something like 1.6 billion people who live in poverty. We've got also more than 700 children who's been displaced by human conflict. By 2030, we're going to have 500 million of young people who are coming onto the workforce looking for jobs. I think the SDGs isn't just about poverty, water, climate, you name it. These are all interlinked together. Let's look at one example, human trafficking. And I was quite enthused and excited this morning. On the BBC News, they were able to catch more than 38 different perpetrators around the world and confiscated more than 200 different videos of children who are abused. When we think about children that are abused, that's human trafficking. But on the other side, we also think about modern-day slavery. These are complicated stories. These are not single stories, but situations that is intertwined with each other. Human suffering is more than the 17 SDGs. Some of them we brush under the carpet and we don't really want to know about it. When we look at one single issue, let's say climate change. Climate change doesn't just mean we're hot and we've got all these lights on and so-called air conditioning. Climate change affects children globally. Climate change also affects food sustainability, clean water, the ability to go to school, etc., etc. So all these goals are intertwined with each other. If we're going to be dealing with them, we need to say, where's the ecosystem? Where are your partners? How do you build that collaborative model or partnership Too often I hear the words, we need to scale up. We need to have partners. But think about your own business. When you have a business model, you don't just go around and say, well, you can come and join my board, you can join my board. You are actually looking at the best resources and the best partners that share the same mindset, that share the same elevator speech, let's say. Then you create your KPIs, you look at your measures, you look at impact, you look at the measurements, and maybe you will launch a pilot. When you launch a pilot, you can do checks and balances. Then when you've done all that, you have achieved great resources, wonderful partners that can share your dream, that can share your work, whether it's for-profit or the not-for-profit. Then you launch a model. When you launch that model, you've gone through all the teething problems. Now you have a successful model that you think that you can launch, be it in a single issue, let's say early age education. But that's not enough, because on the way, you have found other partners in your ecosystem who will say, I'm going to do vocational training. I am going to do elderly care. I'm going to bring in white goods industry so that it would be buoyant and it will afford jobs for kids to go at. Then you achieve scale. Another word that I also hear all the time, I'm doing this because it's going to be great scale. There is no scale unless it's public policy, and policy can bring it into policy and procedures that we can infiltrate it into the public system, whether it's health, education, elderly care, or climate change. I am really excited to be here because I've never been in a room with so many people, with so many interests, with wellness and goodness of mind, spirit, and self. Normal conversation we go to is one specific issue. We're looking at it at silo. That's the challenge. Philanthropy, social issues, normally goes one by one. I often say I'll be dead before any of it is done. So if we could collaborate, if we could work together, then we could move the dial and we could bring a future, better future. What is our future of purpose if it's not for humanity?
Hear, hear. Thank you so very much. Rupert, out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals we saw on the screen, you're a man of vision, you're a man of action. Why choose number 13, climate action?
The issue for us is, I believe, the dynamic. I will quote two numbers. You ask us to quote numbers.
Yes.
The UNICEF released 2 days ago a survey proving that each third child is undernourished or overweighted, which is bad. Our kids, we both quoted children's, they are our future. We're here for them. We're not here for us, who will be disappeared soon. But I am willing to look at all those things with the dynamic and with a lot of optimism. Okay, we were able to decrease extreme poverty from around 50% to less than 10% in the last 50 years. We have done that. So the question for us is, how can we really move it? And as you perfectly mentioned, it's not one SDG. It's all of the SDGs. And because probably we have a small business, Biologique Recherche is a very small business, I believe that it's the course of action which is important. It's one action after the other one,
Absolutely.
which really drives the movement. It drives the world. And what is wonderful is that the Global Compact program is a program which, at the end of the day, measures the dynamics. You have to do better every year, and it's fairly easy to do better, okay? At Biologique Recherche, we are trying every year to train more and more therapists to be able to treat people with cancer.
With Julie.
At Biologique Recherche, we have decided last year to pay back with a price which can be discussed, our emissions when we're flying. May I ask you who is doing this in this room?
I see a few hands.
But we all
One on the
should
right.
do this. We all should do this. It's Thierry mentioned yesterday that the flight bashing will arrive. So then we should all only buy green energy. Okay, this is obvious, this is possible all over the world. So what I believe, my point here, is that it's not one goal. It's a dynamic which includes actions which affect all the different 17 SDGs.
But you need a point of entry, absolutely, and 13 is your point of entry. As for Davide, climate action is also your point of entry, and you're very, very focused on being carbon neutral. Please tell us more.
Yes, I think we should talk about our business model, and there are two main frames that each one of us in our business should consider. Is the Paris Agreement. By 2050, the world has to be decarbonized. So how do you backcast the 2050? Before you get to 2050, you need to get to 2040, to 2030. And then you have the SDGs. SDGs, I think I understand the United Nations work that they need to find a commitment for everybody, for all the 7.5 billion. But I think that for us, we need to look at each one of us, our business model, and we need a hierarchy of SDGs. So some of them come before the others. We cannot have an approach a la carte. I like this, I like that. Of course, if you have more passion for a specific SDG, we might go further. But if you look at, for example, our business model, for sure, it's about 13. We emit around 6,000 tons of CO2. We compensate 10,000 on different initiatives. It's about scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Scope 1 is all the CO2 you emit yourself in your core activity. And then scope 2 is also the emission that are created by your suppliers, for example, the supply of your energy. And scope 3 is the biggest one, also your indirect emissions through your customers and through the process. So it's a journey. It's not so easy to please Greta, to be honest. Probably it's impossible. But it's for sure climate change 13 is one. Then the other one is also responsible production. You have to look at your strategic life cycle assessment of your product. You need to look at all your supply chain from cradle to post-mortem. So if you look at your go in depth of your industrial process for everything you do, you realize that you have a lot of work to do to have a responsible production.
Well done. Now, lots of efforts are made. France, Italy, I see also around the world. Patricia, in July of this year, the Executive Secretary of the UN Regional Commission said that, quote, unless progress is accelerated, Asia and Pacific are on course to miss all of the 17 goals of the UN's 2030 agenda. Is it that bad?
Well, let me give you context. Yes, it is that bad, but I am a woman of hope. I'm strutting the SDG shirt so that, it's a bit of hope because this is about action and this is about what we can do. So context, for those of you who are still kind of, wow, 17 goals, why 17? So random, where did that come from? If we remember the Millennium Development Goals straight up, end poverty, access to water, children education. In 2015, when the goals came out, it's 17, and if you can show that again, it would just reinforce. It's 17, and it's definitely more complex. Look at it. You have infrastructure, you have responsible consumption, you've got things like life on land and water. It just tells you that 15 years ago, life was not as complex, we know that. But the troubles of the world are far more complex, and we all have a role to play. So when the SDGs came out, there were 3 major goals. It's to end poverty, combat climate change, and push for social justice. How do you do that? You do that through all of these. So I echo what Davide was saying. You can't just pick and choose. Because if you're in the food business, absolutely you hit all of that. You can't say, I'm in food, so I'm not going to do anything on gender. But you also can't, and this is, we work with companies on embedding the SDGs. Frankly, the SDGs, it's a framework. You can take it, but really use it to measure your business. So what happens with companies today is that they take it, the color that they like, I'm in food, I'm in production, I'll go for goal 12. That's not enough, because if you're in food and production, you absolutely should do goal 6, water. So when the UN Executive Commission on the Asia-Pacific Progress on Development report came out in July, it said Asia is going to miss most of the SDGs, particularly goal 6, water risk and scarcity, and access to clean, good quality water. Second, goal 12, the 6 countries in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, surrounding Singapore, of course, but they're saying that 2% of single-use plastics are in and around our shores. Does that mean that we are responsible for 2% of plastic? No, but it is within our shores. And if we don't address it, absolutely we're going to miss the deadline. So what is the call to action? The call to action is to use the SDGs as a framework. When you look at the SDGs, it's 17. Pick one and then act on it. But frankly, when you flip through it, and I'm happy to share sources, because this is all open source. It is the first time the United Nations brought together civil society, business, and country heads to figure out how to combat all of this, because this is beyond us. You can't just say, I'm going to go goal 6, and I will figure it out, because I am Coca-Cola, and I have to work on water. Or I'm a boutique hotel, and I will go with life underwater because I've got a conservation project with coral reefs. We have to come together. There are 17 goals. In each of the goals, there are 169 targets. And I'm going to go further into business, because within the 169 targets, there are at least 270 indicators. This is the language that finance understands. In September, in the UN, they said during Climate Week, this is a $12.6 trillion business opportunity. You are in the business of wellness. You want to crack that 12 trillion US dollars and use it for wellness. So I do think that in Asia, it might be grim in July, but I'd like to walk out of this room thinking, I want a piece of that 12 trillion, but I also want to help solve the 17 challenges.
Well done. Yes, yes. Robert, we hear people taking actions, but we also see a lot of bystanders. Is it apathy? Is it self-centeredness? How does that make you feel to see so many people not taking action yet?
Thank you. I remember.
You have the microphone?
I remember in the beginning you were saying which of the SDGs moved me to action.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And actually, when I went through them all, I looked at it and I said that what person in the developing and developed world who's middle upper class looks at those SDGs and says, I'm not moved to take action by any of them, whether it's through apathy or selfishness or self-centeredness. I'm going to say that it's unconscionable not to act. So, if you say, look, it's really not my problem, it's going, I'm okay here. We've seen by recent events that disease, migrants, environmental disasters don't respect man-made borders. So it's not, I'm okay, it's somebody else's problem, it's our problem here and now. And that's really what moved me. My journey started 1991.
Yes.
And in those days, we didn't speak the language of sustainability. That was the time of George W. Bush Sr. and Margaret Thatcher and Tiananmen Square. The Soviet Union had just disintegrated, but when I moved to I'm a real estate developer, that was where I started as. I went into this remote site in the Borneo jungle and was just blown away by this stunning majesty. It was like landing in Jurassic Park minus the dinosaurs. And I said, So I got some partners together, we developed a resort, and it was not by numbers, it was moved by the heart because the environment was so stunning. So that was the start, and then I had to respect this beautiful environment that had created this opportunity. I was working with one of the most primitive people in Malaysia, the Penans. They are the shifting nomads. They live a nomadic lifestyle, and there are Brahmins, and it's a very structured system. And when I went in there, because there was no access, no roads, no airport, nothing, I'd get there and I'd stay in a little shack by the river and bathe in the river. And the chief of the area said, my grandfather had 100 Penan slaves, and I had 20 Penan slaves. And it was his way of telling me, of saying, don't give face to the Penans. We are the Brahmins. We are the superior caste. Deal with me. But they don't do it that way. They do it anecdotally. So, that didn't sit well with me. But you can't tell them to shut up. You're stupid. Because this is a generational thing. And I know we don't have much time. But the message is that over a period of 30 years, I've worked with all these races. We employ at the resort and the national park over 220 people, and 200 of them are Indigenous people. They've been trained by Marriott to a world-class standard. I brought in Australia's best national park manager who has trained the park people, and more recently now with Ayus and Professor Bodica with our wellness initiative. So we've trained these 200 Indigenous people out of longhouses, and I don't know if you can understand that, and shift them to provide world-class services. So, when you said which of the SDGs, I think we've looked at poverty. What we've given them is employment. We've given them hope for the future. And I think that is one of the most important, if you can do that. And I see these 200 Indigenous people who now have got full-time employment. And there are only 1,000, well, when I went there was only about 400 people in the valley. Now there are about 1,000 people. We directly account for 90% of the economic activity, and indirectly probably 100%. So that's my legacy, and I think we've touched on a lot of the SDGs there. Thank you.
Thank you. As I told you, there's a sixth speaker who was supposed to be here, Gareth. Maybe we can hear him with the video that he sent.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you. Gareth Presch, founder of the World Health Innovation Summit, expert on UN SDG 3 for United Nations Global Sustainable Index Institution. You're all aware of the challenges that we face at the moment, but these challenges also bring opportunities. The greatest challenge we face is non-communicable diseases, 41 million deaths annually, 71% of annual deaths, that's the total worldwide. But this also brings opportunity, particularly around the Global Wellness Summit community. We have an opportunity to improve people's health and well-being, and I do hope that we collectively can take that opportunity and work together so that we bring these solutions to the fore, particularly around SDG 3. The other challenges around the health sector, they face an 18 million shortfall in staffing by 2030. Again, this is an opportunity for us to move the model from a pathogenic approach that we currently have, which is a sick model, to a wellness model. So I hope that we can work collectively to grow this industry, to grow this sector. These are where the real opportunities lie.
Thank you. Before we see Gareth in his second video, which for just about 1 minute, he is really a powerhouse. He is following the path of Roland Schatz, who with Michael Muller, the general director of the UN in Geneva, have established in 2017 the United Nations Global Sustainability Index Institute. They're a force for good. They're currently identifying 25 cities in the world that are going to champion at least 3 of those Sustainable Development Goals that you've seen on the chart. 2, in which cities think they're absolutely doing a great job already at it. And with the help of 41 PhDs, the Institute is going to help them go from good to great. But they also have to choose as their 3rd Sustainable Development Goal the one that they think they will never reach, that they completely suck at, that they really, really need help for, so that they can they can pedal faster and reach that. And then those 25 cities will choose twin cities so that they can mentor them. So very rapidly, it's going to grow from 25 to 50 cities. Can we have Gareth's second video, please?
2 main focus areas for ourselves are implementing the SDGs in 25 cities. That's first and foremost. We've developed a methodology, that's the World Health Innovation Summit, to improve people's health and well-being. That gives a societal return of £1 invested 36 back. This is what's been adopted by UN GSII. This is what we're doing to help support, implement and improve people's health and well-being. That involves WIS Kids, which improves children's health and well-being in schools, WIS at work, stress management in the workplace, WIS Seniors, falls prevention, quality of life and loneliness, WIS Green, which is energy, waste and water, and WIS Tech, which looks at enabling and using technology. The second area of interest is the Bahamas that I can share with you. We're working with the Johan Scotty Foundation, and we're supporting the rebuild. You're all familiar with the devastation that's been caused by Hurricane Dorian. So these are 2 key areas for us of focus at the moment as we implement the SDGs.
Thank you. So there's a lot of being done. We're approaching close to the end of this panel. There's so much we can still talk about and that you need to continue to discuss among yourselves. And please use the directory, use your app. The summit doesn't end tonight. It will not end because the conversations go on and on and on with the emails you can send to each other, with the initiatives you can join. With the few minutes we have, can I have maybe 1 minute input from each of you? 1 minute, so that we stick on time before we hear this, the sound and there's an hatchet opening up underneath of us. One minute to really share your energy, your vision, to empower the people in this room to act.
Okay. I think for us at the bank, we have our own JP Morgan Chase Foundation. As Jamie Simon said to me years and years ago, he said, why are we even calling it a corporate social responsibility? It's just our corporate responsibility. And we don't make widgets, so what are we going to do? So as a firm, we employ human capital, our financial capital, as well as our employees, because that's long going. It continues to go. So we felt that out of this SDG goals, poverty alleviation was probably the key, because the rest of it, it's almost like if you are engaging in it, it's putting a Band-Aid on it. If we don't resolve the poverty, if we don't resolve how we're going to lift people out of their environment, we're always going to Band-Aiding. What are they going to get? What kind of education? So when I talk about poverty alleviation, let me go back again to the migrant workers. What about learn, earn, and return? At the moment, our migrant workers are stuck. They can't travel. They don't have a passport. They're not learning new skills. So how can they earn and how can they go back? So let's think about that. Then the other thing I think for my minute that's going to be up is philanthropy isn't an expression of your wealth or your power. Philanthropy comes with compassion from the heart. Philanthropy also comes with skepticism that should it work. You are giving your valuable resources, whether it's financial, social, voluntary, or intellect. You would like to see it work. Then we were talking about it, Jean-Guy, earlier, and I've said it before in the last panel, is these goals are so huge. We cannot possibly do it together. So we really have to think about a collaborative model that has the right partnerships, the right resources, et cetera, et cetera. Let me give you an example. You are here experts in your work. And I heard this morning the spa industry is a 99 billion business across the world. how can we work together? How can we make it a universal spa initiative? €1. €1 from every massage you do around the world in your spa. Take it, put it in a pot, and that is the Global Summit Initiative to help young women to be empowered, to learn the skill, to have the education. You then inherit additional talent, additional resources that can come into your workforce and help you maybe bring that to 99.2.
Thank you.
Your idea.
No, your idea. Thank you. Rupert, I know you're a man of a few words. It will be very handy right now.
Difficult after you. I believe that the goal 17 is the key one. We're a unique community. This event is unique. So it's our duty to engage the rest of the world. I'm happy to contribute, but we must be the drivers to the community, to the world, politicians, big companies, okay? We meet them all the time. So what are we waiting for? And as you said, we can do something within the spas, but within the wellness world here, maybe we could commit to something else, to something bigger. Who is able to commit to zero emission in 23, 24, before the 2030, okay? This is the goal of the global initiative, okay? I don't want to force anyone. I don't want to push anyone because it must come, as we say, from the heart. As Anna said, the heart is more important than the head. So just let's engage everyone and let's be aware of the responsibility we have here to move the world. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Pat?
6 words.
Aha.
Know it, do it, share it. Know the goals, really unpack the indicators. Do it, because what good are they if we're going to just stare at the color wheel? That is that. But really share it. There's so much good that you do. What good is it if it doesn't inspire others to do the same? So I do think if you know it, you do it, you share it. I would love to hear the progress in next year's summit.
Yes. Davide?
I have nothing against foundations or philanthropy, but I think that if you do the right thing as a company, you don't need to open your own foundation, and you don't need to open your own philanthropy, because there are companies, for example, benefit corporations, that have already the goal to impact positively the stakeholders at large. So instead of first you do business and for business sake, almost anything works, and then you open your own foundation and you give away the money you made before. That's, I think, is the old system. The new system is define your right business model, have a positive impact, work for stakeholders, and you don't need to open the foundation. One proposal for Susie, next Global Wellness Summit, carbon neutral.
Aha. Okay. Robert, with your microphone.
I keep forgetting. 2 points. I've got no time. First one is, depending on your business, choose those SDGs that are relevant to you and take them to your heart and act on them and make a difference. And then the second thing is, and this was discussed over the course of this conference, is form a coalition of like-minded people, develop the scaffolding and infrastructure so that you could move institutions. And I think it's going to be difficult to move governments because governments only respond to the people. So if the institutions start to spread this word out through enough of the population, the electorate will force the government to take action. So they're my 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue, can we have Gareth's conclusion?
Final point from me is that we all need to work together. Collaboration is key. You know, if we're going to implement these goals, we've got an ambitious target to implement the 17 SDGs in these 25 cities by 2025. We're also going to be mentoring cities with the World Bank. So we've got a lot of work to do. I mentioned the Bahamas. We've got other areas that we're developing at the moment. We need a lot of support. We need a lot of financing. We are working with family offices, and we're working with, you know, banking institutions. If you're involved in financing projects or you wish to get involved in an SDG project, do get in touch with us. If we can help and support, fantastic. And my final point is to say thank you to Jean-Guy, Susie Ellis and Nancy for all your support, and wishing everyone every success at the Global Wellness Summit, and look forward to meeting each and every one of you in person in the future. So good luck and thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for choosing to attend this session. I know you had a choice of 2 others. I have 6 seconds to thank also Susie, Nancy for addressing the SDGs in so many of the topics, and I believe there is no nobler mission than to encourage people we know we care for, or we don't know yet, to become the best versions of themselves. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.